Hello, hello, hello. Love wrestling. It is technically Monday morning. Technically.
Depending on where you are.
Yes, it is technically Monday morning where we are. But welcome in, everybody. AEW Revolution just finished, and we are here to talk about it. I'm not going to be one of those people. The pay-per-view, it ruled. It was a tremendous pay-per-view, tremendous matches, match placement we're going to get into. Because I think you have a pay-per-view like that, and then the main event kind of goes the way it goes. I just think I'm not even going to say it stunk. I just think it was the wrong place on the card. If that match happened in the middle of the show, I don't think we think it stinks. So that's kind of where I'm at mentally. Is we said it on Thursday. I said it on our show, Drew. I said it on Beards. The main event of the night should have been Toni Storm and Mariah May. This should have been the main event of the evening. And then after we saw what we saw with them, it definitely should have been the main event of the evening. And I just feel like, again, a really, really good pay-per-view. And the three matches that led up to the main event with Mariah and Toni, followed by Kenny Omega and Takeshita, followed by Ospreay and Fletcher. Those three matches back to back to back were as good a stretch of matches as we've seen in a long time. And I think because the main event, I think it was in a spot where that was never gonna. I'm more upset about the decision than I am what we actually saw. Like, I think overall, when you look at the match objectively, it was like it was fine. It was fine. I wouldn't even say, again, I don't know about the decision. I don't know, man.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I do think for sure the match placement played a role.
100%. Like I said, if that opened the show, I don't think we're feeling the same way about the match than we're feeling right now. I just don't.
It was kind of boring.
I mean, it's par for the course, though. Unfortunately, the the storyline.
Really dumb fucking decisions in that match.
Bro, 10 minutes, man. Come on.
I don't give a shit.
Well, you should.
Not tonight.
You should. Now everybody needs to send a super chat because Drew just screwed the video 4 minutes in. This is the first and last time we'll be doing a Firmly Reacts here at Love Wrestling, because we're going to be demonetized 5 minutes into the show.
I don't know what Dynasty is going to look like, but I don't know if I even look at if we do these for those anymore.
Yeah. Well, we all know what's going to happen in Dynasty.
Do we?
Yeah. Swerve is taking that title. But let's talk about it. We got to talk about it. All right. What do you want to do? Do you want to start at the top, or should we talk at the main event first? What do you want to do, Drew? Do we go chronologically?
Let's do chronological.
Okay.
To lift my spirits.
Relax. It's not that bad, for crying out loud. It's wrestling. Come on, bro. I know. Is it just because it's late?
No, it's because that match was garbage. It shouldn't have been the close of the show.
Yeah. Speaking of this, though, I'll tell you what killed the vibe and what probably did the main event a disservice was that person spoiling it that everyone knows who's going to win before the match starts.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't bother me at all.
No, but I'm just sitting there. I'm like, wow, that's great. I made me laugh. But I was just like, as Jeremy Lambert tweeted, he goes, not as excited for this main event now that woman told me that they know who wins before the match. And I was like, that's tremendous. That is a tremendous. I mean, it's hilarious. Lishi, this is where I'm at. I thought the match was fine. The ending was just what?
And I didn't even like the match.
And I just thought the placement of it, again, it shouldn't have main evented the show. They should have swapped places with the Tony Mariah match, or it should have opened. I think if it's not the main event of this show, that's somewhere else on the card. We're feeling a lot better about the match itself.
Somebody thought that match and finish deserved the main event over Tony and Mariah, over Kenny and Takeshita, over Will and Kyle.
Yeah. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. We will get there, though. All right. AEW Revolution. Listen, overall, Drew, it was a fantastic pay-per-view. They always go balls to the wall with Revolution. And we're talking, there were 4 or 5 just incredible matches.
Yes.
This evening. And overall, I know the last thing we saw wasn't the best thing on the show.
It was the worst thing on the show.
And plenty of people, and it's deserving of that opinion, if that's how you feel. But overall, this show tonight ruled. This was a terrific pay-per-view. So, we'll talk about it. Obviously, we're not going to go into depth on the pre-show, but Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, Commander and Hologram defeated Blake Christian and Lee Johnson in a fun little opening tag match. There was a 6-man tag. An 8-man tag. It was Daniel Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom against Shane Taylor Promotions, and Daniel Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom got the victory there. And then we had Big Boom AJ and the Conglomeration, Briscoe and Orange Cassidy against Johnny TV and MXM Collection. The Rizzler was there dressed as Orange Cassidy. Crowd liked it.
That was adorable.
Yeah, that was very good. Very fun. The pop he got was just tremendous. Again, another meaningless, just fun, whatever match, and Big Boom AJ gets the win for the Conglomeration, and that was the pre-show. And then we started the main card, with the match that I was looking forward to the most this evening, Drew. Maxwell, Jacob Freeman versus Hangman, Adam Page. Roundtable, I don't disagree. I thought overall it was a terrific show. And it started off with a good one.
I'll tell you now, we're not going to be seeing Sunday Center in our chats for Firmly AEW much anymore.
No. Yeah. I think if once some time passes, I think everyone can remember that we are adults and everything's going to be fine. So this opens up with Hangman and Maxwell Jacob Freeman. They're trading punches right out of the gate, Drew. A very good opening match with one of the gnarliest looking moves I've ever seen. It took place towards the end of the match. But the Angel's Wings that Hangman did to MJF in this match, MJF landed right on his face. Right on his face.
I was like, oh my God, did he break his nose?
I thought for sure he would be hurt. He would be hurt. But overall, this was a really, really good match. We saw they were on the outside, and we see Hangman is going for a tombstone. MJF reverses it, and he gives him a tombstone pile driver on a steel chair that was folded in the sitting position, which was an incredible spot. And then they did the thing where Heyman was basically unconscious, and we had the slow count, and he got in the ring right after, right a second before the 10 count.
It was like 9.98. And
he didn't start moving. Yeah, usually they start moving around 7, 7. Hangman was still down at 8, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is he going to have enough time to get in there? It's 8, and he's not moving yet. but obviously it was a wonderful thing. And then MJF loses his shit, Drew. Loses his shit. He's yelling. He's, he's saying, why is it you? Why not me? Why not me? And he's just losing his mind. He's yelling at the crowd. He's yelling at Hangman. Man, he just lost his mind. The people at the table, Shivani was sitting there going, man, look at his insecurity. Look how insecure he is. Look how insecure. And he lost his mind, Drew. He lost his mind. And then the ending of this match, like I said, that Angel's Wings was incredible. And then he hits the buckshot lariat. The second time he hit MJF with the buckshot in the match, he went for it like 5 times throughout the match, and it kept on. MJF kept stumbling out of the way.
MJF was being smart about it.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And Hangman Adam Page gets the big victory to open this show tonight over MJF. Drew, what did you think of this opener?
It was probably the best way to start the show, I would say. I really, really loved MJF being smart about, knowing what's coming. Because so many people just do the classic turnaround into the buckshot lariat or any other, name the move, and people turn around into it when they should know that it's coming. So I thought that was very smart of him to do that. And I also thought the same of like, holy crap, is it going to end with a count out? Because he wasn't moving.
Yeah.
And it was like 8.5 seconds, and he finally is just getting up. And, I would say AEW does a better job of the counting. It's slow, but it's not ridiculously slow.
Yes.
So, this was very well done. And, I actually thought MJF was going to win because it didn't seem like we were done with this feud.
I don't think we are. You think we are? I think it goes. I think we're getting another one because
I don't know the way that they shot it with him just lying on the mat. I don't know. I mean, to me, it felt. Like
he could legitimately have been hurt with that Angel's Wing. He literally landed right on his. It looked
also that could be true.
Bad.
Yeah,
it looked bad. But I agree with you. I thought it was a great opener. I thought it was a match that the crowd really like. There were a bunch of these matches, but I thought this was one of the strong stories that the crowd really wanted to see these two guys beat the crap out of each other. And I thought it was a good way to start. People excited right out the jump. And obviously these two had a great match. I think this will continue. I could see this continuing.
I would like it to.
Yeah, at least through Dynasty. Maybe even with the culmination happening at Double or Nothing, who knows? We'll see. But I don't think this was a one and done. I think we'll see these guys. I think MJF is going to want revenge. If, hopefully, he's fine and everything is all hunky-dory. I agree with Sunday Sinner. He is in our chat, Drew.
Oh.
He said that opener set a great pace for what the show should have been. The show was that. One match at the end doesn't ruin what the show was. I'm just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. I know
That's
it's it's the last thing we saw, but one downer doesn't ruin, everything else that we saw. So, all right, then we go right into the AEW TBS Championship, and it was Mercedes Moné against Momo Watanabe. The match started slow. I thought it started slow, a little clunky and slow, but I feel like Mercedes matches kind of always have that way where they start a little slower and they build and they build and they build. And then by the time you're in the last segment of the match, it's like, holy crap, this is on fire. And I thought this is exactly what this did.
This was the first time that I've seen Momo. I don't remember how to pronounce her last name.
Watanabe.
Watanabe.
I could be butchering that, but I think that's what it is. Watanabe. If I am, I apologize.
I really like her.
I do too.
I do agree. The first 5 to 6 minutes of the match
was a little
bit slow. Mm-hmm. And then it really picked up, and they were stiffing each other a little bit. It looked.
Oh, I loved it. The kicks that she was giving Mercedes, especially that one where it looked like she really got her. The kicks that she was giving Mercedes there was nothing soft about those at all. She was laying those in. And yeah, I liked it. I loved the physicality in this match between these two. I loved it. I thought it was, yeah. And then at the end, there's a couple good. First of all, Mercedes hit a beautiful power bomb onto the floor. She power bombed Momo onto the floor, which was a great spot. And then she hit another power bomb in the ring. And then towards the end, Watanabe hits a belly to belly, but it's a 2 count. There's a few more near falls, and it looks like she's lining her up for a roundhouse kick. She connects the roundhouse kick. Still, Mercedes gets out of it. And then she eventually hits the moneymaker right into the crossface, and Momo has to tap, and Mercedes retains and is still the AEW TBS Championship. I thought this was a very, very good match. And for somebody who hasn't seen, like you, I haven't seen a ton of Momo matches. I would like to see more of her. I would like to see more of her. I very, very much enjoyed the way that her style and the way that she wrestled. And Mercedes, again, you know, when she's on a run, she's on a run. And she's doing like good stuff. The women killed it on this show tonight. The women killed it on this show. And it started with these. They went for over 18 minutes. They gave them time. And it worked because it did start a little slow, but they gave them enough time that they won that whole crowd. Like, we were all invested at the end of this match saying, holy crap, this is really, really good. So, yeah, very good. And then speaking of very good, we go right in to the AEW #1 contenders match for the World Championship and a heated rivalry with Ricochet against Swerve. I know this is what you were looking forward to the most. This has been kind of your favorite thing going on in AEW. So I'll let you kind of lead here, sir. Talk to me. Again, I thought there was a fantastic match as per usual, but go in depth. Yeah, tell me what you thought about what we saw in this match between Ricochet and Swerve.
I'd never watched Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
But the first couple of minutes of this match felt like it would have been them wrestling each other on Lucha Underground. It was so fast paced, and but what we expect to know from Ricochet, Ricochet match, but we don't see it very often from a Swerve match. And I think that was, again, I hadn't watched Lucha Underground before, but I feel like that was like a good callback to a match that Killshot and Prince Puma would have had in Lucha Underground. Yeah, there was so many times, and I feel like this match was booked with the knowledge that people were expecting Prince Nana to turn, because there was, of course, the moment that happens in the middle of it was right in the middle of the match too. It wasn't towards the end.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the match.
Then they did stuff at the end too that was kind of like, ooh, like, why is he in the ring so much? Don't do it. Don't do it.
He's there. Ricochet and Swerve are by ringside area, and Swerve just instinctively pushes Nana away, and he got really pissed off about it, and you could see that Swerve was regretful of doing that. Like, he wasn't like, no, get out of the way. He was like, you could see in his face that he was like, oh no, that was the right thing to do. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
But Nana was having none of it, and he fucking walks out, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, he's flipping him the bird. He's flipping him off, saying, fuck this. He's like, he's not just walking away. He's like angrily like, fuck you, buddy. I'm out of here. I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is how they do it? Like, it was totally unexpected. Because they show Swerve, they show Ricochet. He comes out with the robe.
Yeah.
And he actually got his logo embroidered onto the back of the robe.
Yes.
Which is a complete insult to Prince Nana.
Yeah. And those were the upgrades that Ricochet was talking about on Dynamite there.
And the funny thing is that he lays it on one of the ring posts, and up until the point that he leaves, there were multiple times where he could just go and grab the robe.
That's what
but
I
he
was.
doesn't.
That's what I
And
was
one,
saying. Yeah, sorry. When he was leaving, I was like, why doesn't he take the rope and just leave? Just take the rope and run, dude. Just take the
yeah,
rope and if you're leaving, take the fucking rope and run up the ramp. He's in the middle of a match. Just go. Is he going to leave the match and forfeit his number one contender to chase you for the robe? Just take the fucking rope.
right.
Yeah.
And because that's like the similar thing of what I've talked about in the past with the Death Rider story of like, why is nobody taking the briefcase?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
title is in the briefcase. Get the briefcase away from the Death Riders.
Yes.
So this was like a similar thing to that. And then they continue with the match, and it's one point it's looking like Ricochet is going to win, and one point it looks like Swerve is going to win, and then all of a sudden, not from the ramp, but from the crowd, Nana comes back.
Yep.
And this is when it got really juicy.
Because the whole time you don't know if Nana's turning or not. I thought they played it off very well.
He's at one point they're starting to go into what you think is going to be the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Swerve, what was not the house call, but the other move that he does.
The stomp?
The top rope one. Yeah, the stomp. Is that what he does?
Like
the stomp?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
House call?
does
No,
that.
the house call's the kick. Never mind.
Yeah,
but
the
yes.
house calls the kick. And he does the stomp. Ricochet kicks out. And at this point, you kind of see that Nana's still there in the corner. And he's got the robe now.
Yep.
Because that was the distraction for Ricochet was him finally grabbing the robe off the post.
Yeah.
But there's this one moment where Nana's at that post, and Swerve goes to do the house call, and he's standing in that corner, and for a moment, I'm like, is he gonna grab Swerve's legs?
Yeah.
And stop.
That's what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to grab the legs. I'm like, because he's like stumbling and he's outside, but he's like right near. And Swerve had accidentally hit him at this point and knocked him out of the ring.
Yeah,
it was right after Swerve accidentally hit him, and I was like, oh. And then I see him stumbling, and I remember this, like what you just said. He's moving towards the corner that Swerve is setting up to do that on, and I'm sitting there going, Nana's going to think, two things are going to happen in my brain. I'm like, Nana's either turning or he's going to think that's Ricochet. And he's going to grab the leg and cost Swerve. And his argument is going to be, I got hit. I thought you were Ricochet. I was like, that's what's going to happen. But then he didn't do anything. And it was just, the match just kind of went to the finish. And it was like, all right. No, but
there was a lot of false finishes in this.
First of all, that Death Valley driver that Ricochet gave Swerve. It looked like Swerve popped both his shoulders out of socket. The way he landed, I was like, his arms are broke. I don't know how his arms are not dangling off his body. That was
really scary,
gnarly looking. And I was like, oh my goodness. But it looked like he was more than fine. But when he hit that, I was like, oh, I was like, that didn't look good. But he was okay. But Swerve ends up winning with a move that he doesn't win a ton of matches. I mean, he wins matches with, but not in a while. Big pressure. He hit that big pressure, kind of like flippy into the pin thing. Like that is a move he does win matches with. Clearly, he won it tonight, but I think most of the time he doesn't use that. He uses either the stomp or the house call. But it was good to see him pull that one out. And then I thought what happened after this match, I thought was a great moment where Nana gets back in the ring. Swerve grabs the robe, which is kind of on the apron now. Swerve grabs the robe. He folds the robe, and he's looking at Nana, and he says, "I told you I'd get this for you. I told you I'd get this for you." And he goes down on a knee, and he presents the robe to Nana.
Yeah, this was a really nice moment.
And Nana grabs it, and the camera shot is kind of that, but it's kind of further away, so you can see the whole section of the crowd behind him. And Nana grabs the robe and starts doing the dance, and the majority of the crowd is doing the dance with him.
Yeah,
and just the way really the camera shot was, it was just a great shot. It was a great look. I think at the heart of it, even though we're wrestling fans and we know turns happen all the time, none of us want Nana to leave. Like, we want that. This brings us joy.
No,
these two together.
Well, so
you know what I mean?
Last year, so I was on my watch along, I was talking about this. So last year, when it looked like it could have potentially happened, when the Mogul Embassy, we talked about this.
Yeah.
When the Mogul Embassy came back and were like, "Hey, you kind of ignored us, and now you're only with Swerve." So that's when they started that feud, and we had talked about it last year.
Yeah.
Of like, if they do this, it's the worst possible thing that they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, the dancing was so massively over that when they took out Nana and Swerve came out to the ring a couple of weeks while Nana was selling the injury, it looked weird. Because we would just expect Nana to be there doing the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they showed the crowd after this match doing the dance, and a lot of people, like even the celebrities, were in the crowd doing the dance.
Yeah.
Which there were a lot of celebrities on the show.
I was going to say, speaking of celebrities, nobody had a better time watching this match than Leslie Jones.
Yeah.
Nobody.
She was so cool to see.
She was on her
reacting
feet
to everything,
losing her shit from bell to bell. From bell to bell.
Ricochet was taunting her at one point.
And Ricochet bought into it. She bought into it. First of all, she's fantastic to begin with. She's a hilarious woman. But them showing her, and you could see the other celebrities. There were a couple. Michael Cooper, an old Laker, was there. Obviously, they had the Queen of the Ring people behind commentary. But there were some more celebrities kind of where Leslie Jones
was there.
Ken Jeong was there. But Leslie Jones in this match, I thought she like added an extra layer to the match.
Yeah.
I felt like, you know what I mean? Like, she had nothing to do with the match, but she like added a layer to the match because she was just
And Ricochet was really smart in playing into it.
100%.
That it made that moment with like crowd participation even better.
Yeah.
And the fact that the crowd participation was coming from Leslie Jones.
Yeah, like a celebrity.
was crazy.
Very good. Very good. That was a lot of fun. And look, this was a great match. My hope is that if Swerve is the next AEW world champion for a second time, that we get this one more time with Ricochet going for the belt. That would be an ideal scenario for me. Because Ricochet technically beat him the first time, so they're technically kind of 1-1.
Right, yeah.
Single, like solo-wise, they're 1-1. So if Swerve can defeat Moxley at Dynasty, which is when I'm assuming that match will happen, if he can beat him at Dynasty, I think Ricochet does, even though he lost this one, I do think Ricochet has a claim to say, hey, look, we're 1-1 here. Let's finish off this trilogy with me coming for that title. And then we could see Prince Nana turn on Swerve, and then Ricochet's the world champion. That's how we do. So that's how we do things, all right? It's wrestling. It's wrestling. No, I'm kidding. All right, the next match, I'm just going to say right off the jump, I fucking love Brody King.
Oh, okay. Yes. I was actually
Brody
rooting for him. I was rooting for him.
I do too. I thought this match was good, but compared to everything else, it just kind of, it was what it was. It was obviously a shorter match than most of the other matches on the card, but I thought they made Brody King looked awesome in this match.
Yeah.
He looked awesome.
So at one point, Okada's body.
Oh my God. His arms were like red.
He looked like he literally walked through fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because his arms were so rug burnt from all those chops.
Yeah.
that it looked like you could see his flesh
Yeah.
on his bicep. It was so disgusting.
I can't imagine how that feels, and you have to you have to wrestle a whole match with this guy's like ripping flesh off your body. Like, that's disgusting. I mean, I love it. I love every fucking second of it, but that's
Yes.
disgusting.
We are barbaric people.
Yes. Yes. But that is disgusting when you think about it. Like, imagine you were anywhere. Imagine you just got up after this show and you tripped and you got rug burn on a rug. That would be very painful, would it not? Now imagine you were dealing with that, and then you had Brody King beating the fuck out of you.
Bam.
At the same time. Not cool. Not cool.
It's like when you get a paper cut in a spot that you always like you get a paper cut like right here, and you always feel it because you're always bending your finger.
No. I know we're a little bit different in age. Were you old enough? Like, did you see the Jackass movies? Like when they came out?
Absolutely.
Okay. Of all the gross shit and all the crazy ass shit that they do in those shows, those movies, which I love. The thing that grossed me out the most in the first original movies was when they were doing the paper cuts, like in between their toes, and I was sitting there going, I can't look at it. I cannot. The next one, when you're diving headfirst into a brick wall and almost probably bruising, I can look at anything else you want to do. I was like, nope, can't look at it. Can't look at it. But yes, Kazuchika Okada did retain, and he is still the AEW Continental Championship. He did eventually hit the Rainmaker on Brody King. Again, I thought this match was fine to good. I just think with what was on the surrounding sides of it, it's not going to compare. It's not going to compare. But I thought they made Brody King look really, really good. Even like Brody King had about 80% of the offense of this match.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Like, he beat the shit out of Okada, but at the end, Okada being who he is and the veteran and the savvy guy, he got the best of him. He got the best of him. All right, Drew. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this next one.
No, we're definitely not, because I know what it is.
Well, here's the thing. So you and I got into a little bit of a discourse on Firmly AEW on Thursday.
We did. We definitely did.
Because you thought that the Hurt Syndicate should have squashed the Outrunners this evening.
That is correct.
And my argument was, no, I don't think they should squash them. I think they should get a little bit of offense.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I remember this very well.
And then it shouldn't be that much of a struggle.
Right.
But I will say, I still think you were wrong. And anybody that thinks they should have got squashed, I still think you were wrong. But I will say, this was even too competitive of a match for me. And I'm an Outrunners guy. I don't mind the Outrunners. I think they're a good gig. I think they're fun. I like them. I thought that they did well. But I don't think this was the match that was gonna. I don't think this match was booked in a way that helped the Outrunners succeed. I will say that. And I was pro them getting a little bit of offense. But the way this match was booked, they should not have been this competitive with the Hurt Syndicate. And I actually think it did the Outrunners a disservice that this match was booked this way. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think the people were still singing the song at the end.
The song.
They're fine. They're fine.
They're not. It's not like they're going to be in a bad position or anything.
Yeah, but they're fine.
But for it to have been.
It should have been half the time it was.
This is what I was worried about.
Yeah.
And this is what I knew was going to happen.
And again, you and I went back and forth for a good few minutes about it, and we were pretty strongly, vehemently disagreeing about it. But even me, who this was the wrong kind of match for them to do on both ends.
I went down and literally, I'm on my phone right now, so I can't pull it up because then I'm going to be kicked out of the stream. But you can go on my Twitter, @TheDrewNicholas, and you can see literally 9 retweets in a row that I literally saw on my timeline in a row
Yeah.
of people shitting all over this. Rightfully so.
A few of them I did not like, though, because they were pointed at the Outrunners, and I think that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think they were the reason the match was bad. I think the reason the match was bad was because it was booked the way it was booked. I think the Outrunners filled their part. They did what they were asked to do in the match. And some of those retweets were like a little too negative towards them as a team. And I was like, this is not their fault. This is not their fault. It's the fault that this match was booked to be 11 minutes, whatever the hell it was. Like, that's not their fault. They're just doing what they're told.
If it was 8 minutes long, it was 7 minutes too long.
Again, that's where we disagree. But this match should have been a 5-minute match. Literally, it should have just been the Outrunners surprise them for the first minute of the match because they underestimated them, and then they beat the fuck out of the Outrunners for the next 3 minutes of the match, and the match is over. That's what this match should have been. But it was a competitive match for like 10 minutes. Maybe even longer, it felt like. And I was like, this is not the type of match that this should be at all.
No.
At all. But either way, it's fine. I think it's fine. The Outrunners
are still... But because the Hurt Syndicate are the Hurt Syndicate.
The Hurt Syndicate are going to be completely fine by the time we see them again on Wednesday. And the Outrunners, because the gimmick is so over, they're going to be fine too. It's just, what are we doing booking this match this way? Whoever was in charge of the agent, whatever. No. Somebody's got to be like, no, this should be different. This should be different than this. But listen, it was what it was. But I'll tell you what. The next match was the best thing on this show. Should have been the main event. It was the Hollywood ending, Falls Count Anywhere for the AEW Women's World Championship. It was Mariah May versus Timeless Toni Storm, and these two did not mess around. Mariah May comes down first, Toni Storm comes out, and Mariah May just chases up the ramp, and they're brawling at the top. They're doing punches at the top. Luther is up there. They set up a table. Mariah's going after Luther. They're going after everything. Mariah has a friggin' stun gun at one point, and then I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Ooh, somebody's getting stunned!" Like, "Ooh." And then I was like, "Oh, Luther's gonna get it. But they didn't even do that. Like, she just kicked him in the balls, and he flew over the table. Whatever. That power's fun. And then the first big spot of the match was Toni Storm kind of had like a choke bomb, like a choke slam bomb off the stage through the table. Great spot. Mariah kicks out. And then we start making our way to the ring, and Mariah May hits Toni Storm with the running hip attack on the steps, and then she hits a Storm Zero to Toni Storm on the steps. And Toni Storm was pouring blood out of her pouring. It almost felt like when I saw Toni the first time, she was upset that she cut her, like that it was so deep. Like, she looked at it and she went, "Oh, Jesus." You could like read her lips. She was like, "Jesus, fuck." Like, she was pissed. I was like, did she go too deep? Or is she angry that she's I don't know. But she was pouring blood. And then Mariah brings her inside, sets her up for a tree of woe, puts a chair against her, does a hip attack into the chair. And then both women, and Toni is like, my God, like her whole crimson mask, as JR says. He was at the table. And he didn't even say.
He was for this match, yeah.
Yeah. Crimson mask, Toni.
Because they had to have him there because when she was whipping her with the belt, he has to be the one, of course, to say she's being whipped like a government meal.
Of course. They both pull out champagne buckets. And the camera kind of looks into one of the buckets, and you can see there's just broken glass and broken champagne bottles in there. And they both have tape, and they tape a hand each.
Yeah.
And they dip the hand in their respective champagne bottles, so they have glass all over their hands. And they start swinging at each other. They each duck a few, and then Toni ends up catching Mariah May with it. She gets out of the ring. And as this is happening, Toni Storm in the ring empties both buckets of glass onto the mat. And then Mariah May is now busted open. And then she starts bleeding a lot. So this is just a massacre now. Yeah. Just blood everywhere. At one point, Toni jams the broken bottleneck into Mariah May's forehead. And then Mariah hits Toni with a low blow with the broken glass. Damn.
Right in the private area.
Yes. Yes. And then Mariah May does a Frankensteiner into the glass, a Mayday, but Toni Storm kicks out. And then Toni Storm kind of slides into a Storm Zero on the glass to Mariah, but Mariah kicks out. Now everyone's bleeding. There was a terrific camera shot, an overhead camera shot of Toni laid out, and it's literally probably 20 feet up, kind of zoomed in, and it looked like it was a fucking horror movie. Yeah. Her whole face was covered in blood.
She was wiping the blood out of her eyes.
The only thing that was white in the picture were her eyeballs. It was an insane visual. What happened then?
It was fucking crazy.
It was unbelievable. Then they go back to the floor, and Toni Storm unveils the shoe. The shoe that Mariah used on her when she turned heel so long ago. Toni unveils the shoe. Mariah May, it was still bloody. And Mariah's like running up the ramp at this point. She's stumbling, she's crawling. She gets to the title belt. But Toni catches her up there, stomps her a little bit. Toni starts whipping her with the belt. Toni then picks the shoe up. And this was like, from like a visual perspective, it's just like, Mariah's crawling away and Toni has the shoe. And then Mariah hits the Mayday on Toni up on the stage. Toni kicks out. And then Toni finally gets the shoe. She starts repeatedly smashing Mariah in the head with the shoe.
So brutal looking.
Yeah. And then she gives a Storm Zero through the Hollywood table that was set up at the top of the ramp.
And let me tell you, thank God that table did not break in half, because it would not have been well for Mariah May.
Yeah.
Her head would have went right on that stage.
It would have been bad. And Toni Storm on top of the stage gets the 1, 2, 3 to retain, and she is still the AEW World Women's Championship. And then they kind of zoomed out, and on the stage, on the screens, it said "The End." It said "The End," and then they had a close up, and like Toni kind of like, she was laid out on top of Mariah. They're just both bloody messes, just been through a war. And Toni kind of gets up, and she looks at Mariah, and she just like nestles back in her chest.
Yeah.
And that's just how it ended.
That was a Hollywood ending.
Oh, tremendous. And even in the moment, not even
the main event.
Yeah, and even in that moment, Drew, before we saw what we saw in the next the next 3 matches, I was like, how does that not end a pay-per-view? With that visual of them on the stage with the end, how it says "The End."
Yeah.
How does that not end the pay-per-view? What are we doing? Anyway, tremendous stuff. The best women's storyline easily in the history of AEW. I would say a top 2 to 3 storyline in the history of AEW alone. A tremendous end to what was a 1.5 year long feud between these two. And it was perfect from start to finish. It was a perfect story. Yeah,
it really was. I mean, you can say, all right, while Toni was gone, they didn't really book Mariah as champion great.
That's fair.
But when it came to the actual story of Tony and Mariah, they did it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a beautiful ending, and just the way they shot it, just everything about it. It was just, and I agree, Fernando. I mean, you can make an argument it's the greatest women's match in the history of the company. I know it's, recency bias, but it's right up there in the discussion. That was about as violent and as perfect as you could really get, in my opinion.
Well, there was the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa cage match.
Well, that was no, the lights out, right? The lights,
the lights
out
match. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
I mean,
out.
To me, that's right in the. You notice how, that would be right in the discussion. I feel like that was the first great women's match in the company. Was that one
and then
the
there
first
was
real great one?
Yeah, there was that tag match.
Yeah,
Also,
Penelope
with the Bunny
Ford
and
and the
Penelope
Bunny.
Ford versus
Yeah.
I forgot who the other two were.
Yeah.
That was like a major and bloody. That was the match that inspired the blood and guts comment from Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Because the crimson mask that the Bunny had.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him on that call because technically, it beat SmackDown in the ratings because SmackDown was on FS1, but So there's been a couple of women's moments that have been gory and have led to awesome matches like this, and hopefully we just keep getting more.
Yeah. AEW does know how to tell a good, gruesome match. Like, they know how to do bloody.
Oh, yeah. We're going to see in 2 matches from now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But before we get there, we got to talk about this match. Holy moly, what a match this was here. Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW International Championship. And boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, Drew. This was another good one. A tremendous match between these two. Takeshita, I think, throws the best forearms in all of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I actually agree with you.
I do not see anybody that throws a more vicious looking and vicious sounding forearm in wrestling.
That you
just
hear
the way, the snap that he does on it, at the right perfect, it just looks like he's really knocking their fucking heads off. And it is so impressive to me. The story of this match, Drew, was, at least through commentary, I felt like, and what we saw in the match as it went on, was, can Kenny physically do the things that he used to do to be Kenny Omega? I feel like that's the story, right? And we saw in this match, as it kind of went on, Takeshita went outside, and he used the opposite side of the table. So a table was set up, he flips it upside down, and at first I thought he was going to suplex Kenny Omega onto the legs of the table, but he didn't, thank God. But he suplexed them onto the table, backwards, and then he put the table up on its side, and he suplexed them directly in his midsection on the side of the table, which was a gnarly looking thing. Obviously, Kenny, with his stomach and everything that's gone on, they're really leaning into that in all of his matches so far. Really, they've been leaning into that.
I would say a little bit too much.
I think at some point you're going to have to move it. Yeah, at some point you're going to have to. Maybe it's now because he's the champion, so it's a little bit, but I think at some point you're going to have to start to pull back on that. He's only had 3 or 4 matches back, but at the same time, it seems to be that's the story of all his matches. Exactly. He's grabbing his stomach, and I get it. It makes sense because he dealt with a real life thing that was very scary. But it does feel like at some point here, over the next couple feuds or matches that he has, you're going to have to, we can pull away. But speaking of, his entrance tonight was also spectacular, godlike. It felt like a Roman god.
This might be a hot take. I kind of don't like the song.
I prefer the other one.
Yeah, Battle Cry is just the song.
Yeah.
And when I hear this one, I'm like, okay, but it just doesn't do it for me as much as Battle Cry does.
Yeah. Talk to me about this match, Drew. I mean, there were a lot of spots in this match, obviously, as you would expect. I just thought it was terrific. I just thought it was really good. They were beating the crap out of each other. Kenny towards the end, he's hitting his V triggers, all his snap knees and things like that. They're reversing each other. There was a poison Rana from Kenny to Takeshita that was gnarly.
Yeah, the other thing that there's a little bit that they need to start pulling back from a little bit is Don Callis.
Yeah, he was on the table for this, but he left the table 3 separate occasions to get involved in this match. Now, is that out of character for Don Callis? No, but
it's a bit excessive.
I did feel like besides one time, I felt like those were the parts of the matches where I was like, you're kind of ruining the vibe, man. And I know that's the point, but I was kind of like, okay, one time I get, like, stop. Let these guys go. Like, we're watching a great one here. Like, come on, you don't got to do this, But they ended up doing it, I think, 3 separate times. So that was kind of whatever it was. But, man almighty, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, the V triggers and it was a perfect match for the two of them. I believe this is their third match. This was their third match together, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of them was a tag match. So Takeshita in 2023.
No, but they had a match in Japan.
Yes, well, Takeshita used to be Omega's young boy back in the day,
right?
As well,
yeah.
So they had a long history with each other. Yeah, but I think in 2023, Takeshita beat him twice in 6 days. He beat him at All In a tag match, and then he beat him at All Out 1-on-1. And so this was kind of part of this. That was part of the story going in this. At one point, I thought there was a cool spot where they tried to do each other's moves to each other, and they reversed it. But Takeshita tried to do a one-winged angel to Kenny, and then he reversed it and tried to do that like Takeshita bomb where he hooks the legs, but Takeshita got out of it. I thought that was a very good little thing there when they were trying to do each other, like one-up each other with their own moves. But yeah, just a tremendous match. And at the end, Omega's lining up for a V trigger. He hits it. He puts him up in the electric chair like he's going for the one-winged angel. Takeshita slips out, and then Omega does a crucifix pin. He gets a 2 count, and they're rolling around for a few seconds, and then Kenny rolls him up again, and he actually gets him. So it wasn't like it was a finishing move that led to the pinfall. This ended up in a kind of a roll-up victory after they were kind of going back and forth with some, And
I was surprised that because it wasn't like the next match that we're going to see. It was what we're going to talk about. Takeshita was not laid out.
No, he just got.
I was surprised. Actually, I was surprised that they didn't attack Kenny afterwards. So it made me think, oh, maybe they're moving away from that, which it kind of. We'll talk about a little bit. When we get to this next match, it does seem like something's going on with the Don Callis family.
Could be. You never know. Okay. So Kenny wins. He is the new AEW International Champion. You could see the emotion on his face after he won it. You could tell it meant something to him. He soaked it up in the ring for a little bit. The crowd was chanting his name. Oh, at one point in this match, a big spot in this match, Kenny kicked out of 1. Kenny was getting the shit kicked out of him, and Takeshita was getting 2 counts. And then Takeshita hit a big move on Kenny, and Kenny kicked out at 1. And the crowd went nuts.
Yeah, the crowd went great. When that's done right, it's perfect.
Yeah, that was a great spot too. That was really good. And speaking of really good, holy moly, guys. This steel cage match that we saw between these fellas.
Holy shit.
Unbelievable. Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay. I mean,
so I came into for regular viewers. Normally, obviously, I'm not at my regular setup. I'm on my couch in my living room. My husband was here at his desk, finishing up. That's why I came in here, because he was going to bed. And at one point, I have my headphones in because I'm on a watch along, and I'm watching it on my TV, and I just hear him go, "Oh my God, is that real?" And this was one of the spots where blood was pouring down Will Ospreay's face.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "That's real?" I was like, "Yeah, that's real."
Like, he's really bleeding.
And I was like, "Oh God, that's disgusting."
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not a wrestling fan, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, listen, he's probably better for it. No, I'm kidding.
He's not as barbaric as we are.
Yeah. So this is another one of these matches. So Kyle Fletcher comes out first, and he climbs the cage, and he's standing on the top of the cage, like waiting for Will. And then Will comes out, and Will climbs to the top of the cage, and they're on opposite corners, standing on top of the cage.
I love this visual.
Very cool. Very cool looking. Very cool start to the match. Then they climb down the cage, and right away they're punching each other. They're trading shots. They're doing all these things. And then it just kind of went from there, and it went about as what you would expect from these two guys. It was
bloody
fast
and beautifully violent.
Yes, it was violent. It was fast paced. They were countering each other. They were so athletic, reversals. It was just from time, like early on, Kyle Fletcher throws Ospreay into the cage, and Ospreay is busted open, and he's bleeding a lot as well. So he's busted open. And then, Fletcher's kind of in control for a little bit. He had a beautiful last ride on Ospreay, but Ospreay kicks out. I thought that was a great looking last ride by him. And then Kyle start trying to fight back, but Ospreay's one-upping him. Kyle hits a good brain buster, and then we see Mark Davis make his way down to the ring. And we should say Don Callis is also on commentary during this match as well.
Yeah, he doesn't get involved in this match.
No, he doesn't. But Mark Davis comes down, and he's got a big black duffel bag, like a black bag, which has a bunch of stuff in it. He puts it on the steps. He bolt cutters the lock. He opens the door. He puts it on the step. And then And then Ospreay gets kind of one-ups him a little bit, and he looks in the bag, and there's a barbed wire baseball bat in the bag. And Will Ospreay hits Kyle Fletcher multiple times across the back with the barbed wire baseball bat. Looked pretty good. And then there was a cool spot where Will Ospreay got in the corner after he did that, and the camera was kind of looking at him, and he did the Cactus Jack. He did the bang, bang, like that, which was pretty cool. I like that. Then Kyle Fletcher hits a big uppercut at this point, and then he starts getting the one-up on Will. He's choking Will. They're going back and forth, hitting big moves on each other. Will Ospreay hits a poison Frankensteiner. He hits a Van Daminator, like kind of hidden blade, but Van Dam, like he threw the chair at him, Van Daminator style, and then hit Mark Davis with the hidden blade, which was really cool. He kind of climbed like 3/4 of the way up the cage and jumped off and did an Os cutter from the cage, like higher up on the cage, which was a great looking spot.
That's not the only high move that was done.
No, but Fletcher kicks out of all these. Then Fletcher starts climbing up the cage, and Will is following him, and we see him reaching for something, and it's the screwdriver. It's the screwdriver that started all of this with Callis and all them, and he hits Ospreay in the forehead with the screwdriver. Will falls back. Then they keep on going back and forth. He hits another brain buster to Will on the folded chair like he did on Dynamite. He hits it again, which was nasty, but Ospreay kicks out. And then Kyle Fletcher grabs the tacks. And let me tell you, Drew, Kyle Fletcher went dick first into these tacks, bro. Dick first. I don't have a better way to put it. He took a Styles, first of all, a Styles clash onto Tax is fucking absurd. Absurd. But Will Ospreay hits a Styles clash to Kyle Fletcher on top of Tax. And like I said, Fletcher went dick first.
Couldn't believe poor penis.
Unbelievable. Hopefully he was double cupped. Truly. I don't think I could wear enough cups. If I knew I was taking that spot, I'd be like, I'm wearing 9 cups. Mm-hmm. I am not chancing that any of these tacks get anywhere close. My chest, my tummy, fine. Cool. Great. I'll deal with that. That's going to hurt like hell, but I'll deal with it. Nope. We got to protect at all costs. Or at least, I can't have thumbtacks going through them. I can't have thumbtack going through it. Come on. Oh, my God. But what a move. What a move. And that wasn't even the end of the fucking match, Drew.
No.
They do a Styles clash into the tacks, and Kyle Fletcher kicks out of a Styles clash onto thumbtacks. And then both guys are climbing the stage, climbing the cage. Ospreay has the screwdriver. He's holding it with his teeth. He's holding the screwdriver with his teeth. They're sitting across from each other on the cage. They're fighting over the screwdriver. Will spikes Kyle Fletcher with the screwdriver. And then he gets him up. And from the top of the cage, we have a Spanish fly.
Holy shit.
Will landed right on his hip, bro. Right on his hip. And he was limping after the match badly. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to be out for a little bit.
He landed.
That did not look good.
Yeah, he landed directly on his hip. But a big time Spanish fly off the cage. Will, and then like you could tell, because Will got up and he was getting ready to do like the finish of the match, but you could tell like Will was screaming mad after he hit it when he went in the corner. Like he was yelling, but it was more, I felt like he knew he was kind of hurt. And he was like, fuck. And he was like pissed about it.
I'm worried about that.
Yeah. But then he hits a hidden blade and then he hits the Tiger Driver 91, which I thought was a beautiful touch in this story. With the Callis family and with Kyle alone. I thought that was a beautiful touch that he hit the Tiger Driver 91 and Will Ospreay wins by pinfall. Drew. Again, I feel like it's recency bias. I feel like one of the best steel cage matches you'll ever see. It's violent though. And I know violence and the stuff that we saw is not for everybody, but this was what a steel cage match this was.
This was one of the best steel cage matches I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys can fight. The chemistry these two have, they could fight for the rest of the time. They could. I mean, it's incredible.
Like there was the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks cage
that was a great
match.
That was a great
Revolution. No, not Revolution. Was it Revolution?
It was probably Revolution. Just seems to be bangers.
No, I think it was All Out 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're asking the wrong guy. I don't know when any of these things happened.
And hi, how you doing? I know I'm in your spot, sorry. But this was like one of the best cage matches. It was so violent, and I really hope that Will Ospreay's okay, because if he like broke something from that, or that's going to be a timeout for him that's not needed for the company right now. So it's like almost like, do you risk doing a spot like that? God forbid you get injured and you're out for 6-7 months. I just hope that that's not the case. But I mean, it's going to be replayed to death in many video packages and highlight reels for years to come.
For sure. It was just, it was really fantastic stuff. Obviously, we hope that maybe it's just a stinger or something like that, or not something that will take a lot of time for Will, but it did look like he was kind of feeling the effects of that after the match. He was limping pretty good on his way up the ramp there. So hopefully he's fine. Obviously, we hope the best that he's fine, but what a match. That's 3-match stretch right there with Tony Mariah, Takeshita Omega, and Will and Kyle. That is about as good a 3-match stretch on a pay-per-view that I can remember. That was just, those 3 matches were like, holy shit, that was the best match of the night. Holy shit, that was the best match of the night. Holy shit, that was the best match of the night.
either of those things could have been the main event.
I agree. I feel like there was really only one main event, and it was Tony and Mariah. But we are going to talk about the main event that we saw. It was Adam Copeland going against Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Again, I feel like with the 3 matches you saw beforehand, the crowd was obviously going to be on a come down stage with this kind of, and I thought the way the match started, I actually liked. I liked how they took a few minutes in the ring and they would just forearming each other back and forth like strong style, just kind of like, you're expecting like a wrestling match, but they just start beating each other up like that, hitting each other as hard as they can. The ones that Moxley was hitting on Copeland, they sounded like they were gonna break something. They were so violent. They do that for a little bit. They start going back and forth. They fight on the outside a little bit. Copeland hits a neck breaker on the apron. No, I'm sorry. Moxley hits a neck breaker. He's really trying to focus on the neck of Copeland throughout the majority of this match. He's even talking to the camera saying, I'm going to break his neck multiple times throughout this match. There were a few moments in this match where Moxley was really testing the patience of the referee, Bryce Remsburg. Like he was pushing him around. He was bullying him. And Remsburg had to be like, yo, like, relax, calm down, bro. Like, things like that. You could tell as the match went on that Moxley was getting more and more frustrated that Copeland was keeping on getting up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was changing the demeanor of Moxley as the match went on. One thing, a side note, I actually loved the gear that Adam Copeland was wearing tonight. I thought the color scheme on him was excellent.
The tribute to the firefighter jacket that he had was phenomenal. That was really nice.
I love the color of the gear. So that, they go back and forth. It's a very typical Moxley kind of slow, kind of strong strikes, big, heavy moves, things like that. He had a pile driver on Adam Copeland at one point. So then we kind of get towards the end of the match. Remsburg gets knocked out of the ring accidentally by Adam Copeland. And then Moxley hits the paradigm shift, but there's no referee. So then he goes to get 2 chairs. He's thinking about doing a concerto. Adam Copeland kind of gets out of it. And then we kind of hear the crowd making noise, and we see Wheeler Yuta make his way down to the ring. And he looks like he's angry. I mean, he always does. But he looks like he's angry, and he gets in the ring, and he's staring a hole at Jon Moxley. Mm-hmm. He's not looking at anybody else but Jon Moxley. And I was watching on my monitor, and I said, he's hitting Copeland. He's hitting Copeland. No doubt. No doubt he's hitting Copeland. They both get up at the same time, and he hits the Psycho knee on Adam Copeland. Then Jay White comes on down. Jay White beats up Wheeler Yuta. He takes the briefcase because Moxley brought the briefcase to the ring because he had nobody else with him. So he takes the briefcase and he's ready to go, and he goes to hit Moxley. Moxley ducks and he cracks. This looked like he cracks Adam Copeland right in the face with his briefcase, like directly in the face. Yuta pulls him out of the ring. They start brawling up the ramp. Remsburg is back in the ring at this point. Moxley goes for a cover. Copeland kicks out of this one. Now Moxley's arguing with Bryce again. Copeland hits him with a spear. And then he gets up and he ends up hitting Moxley with 3 spears in a row. And in my brain, I thought he was going to win here. I was like, Copeland's going to win, and then Christian's coming down. I said, Copeland's winning, and here comes Christian. That's where my brain went. But I almost called him Edge. Adam Copeland goes to cover Moxley after the 3rd spear. We get 1, we get 2, and then a hooded man pulls Remsburg out of the ring. It is Christian Cage. Remsburg's yelling at Christian, what the hell are you doing? Christian unzips the hoodie. He has the contract. He hits Edge is coming at him, and he hits Edge I keep on calling him Edge. I'm sorry. He hits Adam Copeland with the contract. He pulls out the contract. He signs the contract. Now, in this very moment, I am still like, Christian's winning. Christian's leaving with the belt. He gets in the ring. He's waiting for Copeland to get up. He hits a spear on Adam Copeland. 1, 2, Copeland kicks out. And at this moment, I'm like, oh boy. Oh boy. And then you can see as Christian is starting to go for the what's he call it now? The kill switch. He's starting to go for the kill switch. I started to see Moxley in the corner, kind of, he's doing that thing where he's like resting, but he's kind of looking to make sure I got to slide in there when it's my time, kind of thing. And I went, when I saw that, I went, Moxley's winning. I said, he's gonna fucking retain. He hits the kill switch. And he goes for the pin, and then Moxley slides in the ring, and he hits that bulldog choke on Christian. And I thought one of the things I thought they were going to do something. When he first has it on him, Christian still has, he puts like barely his fingertips on Adam Copeland. And I was like, oh, is Christian going to get the 3 count and still win? Even though, I was like, oh, they're going to do something funky. And no, Moxley just pulls him off and really cinches in the bulldog choke, and you can see Christian reaching to get the hand on Copeland again to try to pin him one last time, but the hand drops. Remsburg checks him. Christian's out cold. Call for the bell, and Jon Moxley retains and is still the AEW World Champion. After the match, though, Moxley grabs the briefcase. He goes through the crowd as you expect. He's still by himself at this point. And as he's walking to where he usually comes out, we see Prince Nana. And Prince Nana has his coffee cup, and he's looking at him, and he's just, he's just yelling at him. He's saying, you got one more last time. We're taking it from you. So then Moxley kind of puts the belt down, and it looks like he's going to like go after Prince Nana. There's security out there, and then the camera kind of pans up, and Swerve is perched up on one of the barricades that goes up the steps where the crowd sits, and he dives and does the stomp to Moxley and all the security guards, and the crowd is chanting Swerve's house as his music hits, and the crowd actually, at the end, the very, very end of the show, the crowd seemed to be happy and having a good time.
That's the whole reason why that even happened in the first place.
So
because for most of that match, they were not making that much noise.
Well, here's my thing. I actually tweeted about it, and I said, if it wasn't these two guys in this match, I feel like the crowd would have turned. Because I think the wrestling crowd has so much respect for Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland that it's part of the reason why the crowd did not really turn on this match. I think because of the two guys that were in it. You know what I mean?
They weren't like chanting bullshit.
No, but it felt like we were close at a few times. It felt like we were getting close a few times. And I was like, they better do something or wrap this up quick, because it feels like we're getting to the crowd turning on this match. But I honestly think because it was Moxley and Copeland, and those guys are kind of so respected and beloved in the wrestling community, I feel like that is part of the reason why it didn't get to that level, out of the respect that everybody has for those two guys. But there were times in this match where it was like, we got to wrap this shit up, guys. Like, this is clearly not going the way it's going. Swerve's got to beat him next month. Has to. Has to.
Hope so.
You can't, the way that went, like, you can be stubborn. You can be stubborn. Putting that match main event tonight, that was a stubborn decision by what I assume is the guy on top. And I like the guy on top, but that was a dumb decision to main event. That is how you think that show that you just put on, that's how that should have ended? That is not how that should have ended. That was the wrong decision to be in the main event, especially the way it was booked. Because once you put that in the main event and then you show us what you showed us on the way to that main event, something bigger than that needs to happen. Christian cashing in and winning the title would have been a bigger moment where I could have at least maybe justified Tony thinking that was a big enough moment to end the show. this was not a big enough moment to end this show.
And
I think that was the problem tonight.
I'm gonna. Oh my God! Did my headphones just die? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, one of my headphones actually just died. Isn't that funny?
Well,
Much like my feelings for this feud. So yeah, I'm gonna temper my anger for this as much as possible. But I can tell you that this is actually the worst thing that they could have done.
Okay.
I said on this show on Thursday, if this show ends with Moxley just retaining and nothing else happening, that's the worst thing that you could do.
Well, that's what happened.
That's what they did.
Yeah. Story's not over, Drew.
But not only is that what they did, anything that could have made this salvageable was not done. Like, I'm thinking, okay, this is the main event of this show.
Yeah.
Something huge has to be happening. And then Christian comes. So it's not even with Christian. Wheeler comes out.
Yeah.
Wheeler Yuta comes out. He's looking at Moxley. You know he's not going to hit Moxley.
Yeah.
He hits Cope. Then Jay White comes out. He's going to hit. It's looking like he's going to hit Moxley, but he hits Cope.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even hitting Cope in a turning way.
No, it was a complete accident. And he was remorseful afterwards too.
Oops.
Yeah.
I did a baddie.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. Jay White and Wheeler Yuta are gone. It's like, oh, okay. So that's not a Wheeler Yuta turn. That's not a Jay White turn. That's just a plot device for the match.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. At one point, they show the ops.
Yeah, they did.
And that's like, oh, well, Christian's coming out tonight for sure. Because why would the ops be shown? There really was no need for them to be shown in the first place.
They didn't get involved in this when Christian did come out, which, like, why would you show? I mean, it's fine.
But at one point, they show them, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So Christian Cage cashes and wins. And until we get to Dynasty, we have a Samoa Joe and Christian little feud, because they've already been feuding.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah, sign me up for that. That actually might be a good way to set us up for Dynasty.
Yeah. Nope.
So Christian comes out, and the thing that I didn't understand is why the hell is he making this a three-way?
He should have waited till the match was over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he was watching, and in that exact moment, because of the 3 spears to Moxley, he was like, now's my turn. Now's my time. Moxley's out. So it's just me and Edge who is at, damn it. It's just me and Adam Copeland who's been fucked up for the last 10 minutes. That's my only.
Let him.
Because I think it was more in the scenario of the match, right? Yeah, my guess would be because in that scenario of the match, it looked like Christian could easily just slide in, do the spear, and get the fuck out because Moxley was done.
I guess, but like that, the whole, like, my whole reasoning and a lot of people that I've seen is, well, this is going to mirror the TNT Championship match.
Yeah.
And Christian's going to get the contract, and he's going to cash it in on the winner of the match, and then win the match and get the title. That was what everybody was saying. I never would have thought that he would cash in to make it a three-way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so Christian pulls the ref out, and he goes and he signs a contract. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like the big moment, right? This is leading to the big moment.
Which at this point you would think would be Christian stealing the victory and becoming the champ.
Right. And then exactly what you described, Moxley, you see Moxley there, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not ending.
Once I saw Moxley's head pop up, I was like, oh shit. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I think Moxley's gonna fucking win because of this. He's gonna win because of this. And then
I'm like, they can't end the show like this, right? This can't be the end of the show. And then Moxley starts choking Christian,
yeah.
and I
The
was
pinfall thing,
sold.
right? Yeah,
The
I
pinfall
thought it
thing
was gonna
sold
happen.
me. I
Yeah, I
went,
thought it was gonna
holy
happen.
shit, that's how it's gonna happen. It's like
Yeah.
a sneak,
Moxley's not gonna notice.
sneaking
Yeah.
victory.
Yeah.
And nope, he just pulls him back, and he passes out, and the bell rings, and the match is over, and Moxley retains.
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me? You had so many opportunities to make this a big moment, and you did none of them. None of them. You teased every single one and did none of them.
Mm-hmm.
No Wheeler Yuta turn, no Jay White turn, no successful cash in by Christian. Nothing. Nothing.
Yep.
And this was your main event.
Yep.
Holy shit. That was awful.
Yeah, it was
The crowd wasn't into the match.
Yeah.
Swerve had to come out at the end to give them life to end the show.
Yeah.
Because if he didn't, that was how the show was going to end.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's it. It was the worst way to end the show.
Yeah.
I said it on Thursday. The worst thing that could happen is Moxley retains, and we don't get a turn, and we don't get a new Death Rider, and we don't see the title. All of that stuff happened.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. Again, I think it was. I don't think this match was a bad match, and I'll stand by that. I don't think it was a bad match. I think if this match opened the show or swapped places with any of the 3 matches prior, I think we all probably feel a little bit differently about the match. I think the fact that it was the main event compared to the 3 matches we had seen prior, I think that was really the disservice in this match. I don't think the match itself I wouldn't say it was a great match, but I think the match itself was not a bad match. I just think making it the main event when it was not one of the top stories that the fans were excited about heading into and I understand it's the World Championship, but like the crowd has not been into the Death Riders thing for a little bit now. And I just felt like what happened? Uh-oh. Do we lose Drew? We lost Drew. I think his whole headset just died. I think that's what that was. You're muted, bro. You have to unmute yourself.
This headphone died, so now this headphone is working for now.
Unbelievable. Well, good thing is we're wrapping this up. We're at the end here, so
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think this was a bad match. I just think it clearly should not have main evented.
Oh.
And then I think once we knew it was the main event, once we saw the 3 matches that happened prior, it was like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do here? I think I said on Thursday, I said that if Moxley left as the champion, I thought that would be like how can you not read the room? How can you not read the room? And like now I'm going to say it again, after the reception of the main event, which again, the crowd wasn't disrespectful during that main event. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like the crowd didn't turn. The crowd wasn't disrespectful. They weren't saying this, they weren't, but they were quiet. And I think that's almost worse. I think that's almost worse. But I would hope after tonight and after seeing how the crowd was kind of really not responding to that main event when they were responding the way they were responding the whole rest of the night, I felt like hopefully that wakes somebody up. That wakes somebody up and it says, okay, maybe we do need to do a course correction here. We need to do a change of course. Because now I look at it and now we know it's Swerve. So we're going to get to Dynasty, which is a little less than a month from now. It's
and
April
we don't
6th.
have to worry about Christian anymore.
So and look at, and if that was the thing, if the plan maybe was that Christian was really never going to win the title, the plan was going to be something else. And if they can't get to that right now, I did think that this was a good way to get rid of that. I mean, it worked effectively in getting that contract and that whole thing out of the picture. That is, now we don't have to worry about that. That doesn't have to be in the back of our minds anymore. But at the same time, now you have Adam Copeland, who I think he has a right to say, I didn't lose. I didn't lose that match. Which makes me think that we're probably getting Copeland and Moxley again, or maybe Dynasty turns into a triple threat with Copeland, Swerve, and Moxley, because Copeland didn't lose that match.
So there apparently was, they didn't air this, but there apparently was a moment in the ring with Copeland and Swerve that would make you maybe think that it will turn into a triple threat.
I think Copeland has an argument. I think Copeland has an argument. He was going to win that match. He hit Moxley with 3 spears. He was going to win that match. And Christian pulled the ref out and then cashed in, and then Christian ended up losing that match for everybody. And so I do think Copeland has a strong argument, and I think he has a right argument. Like, a loss is a loss. It is what it is. But Copeland does have an argument, like, I didn't lose to Moxley. Moxley did not beat me. If anything, I had him beat. So I could see this turning into a triple threat. Or I could see maybe, what do we have? I think it's April 6th is Dynasty. So we have like about a month. Maybe we get the rematch on a Dynamite, maybe, between Moxley and Copeland, and the winner then Swerve gets the winner at Dynasty kind of thing. But I do, or I could see this turning into a triple threat, because I do think Copeland does have a legitimate argument. The way it went down, I think he got kind of screwed. He
definitely got screwed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Johnny, I didn't see your comment up there, buddy. Johnny, if you're still here, thanks for popping in. I do agree. I thought the main event kind of soured it, but I do agree. It was an incredible pay-per-view. I thought as a whole, an incredible show tonight. I do agree with you, Johnny.
The only reason why it is not the worst is only because you can see that there's still life in this. Death Riders, Moxley, Cope. It was the worst thing that they could have done.
Yeah.
But hopefully, it's rectified at Dynasty. Hopefully.
The way that things went down tonight, I would be, again, as a stubborn fella, and I can be stubborn, I would hope what happened tonight would kind of make the thing that I left Revolution thinking was they got to get that belt on Swerve as fast as they can. They got to get that belt on Swerve as fast as they can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe that I felt when that show ended. That it was like, okay, you had an 11 match card or 9-10 match card, and 8 of them were incredible. I go, but one of the ones that wasn't is your world championship picture, and the crowd is clearly not interested in this story anymore. So either you need to pull out something big to make this story interesting, or you need to just say, all right, like, this didn't work the way that we wanted it to. We're going to do this. And Swerve is one of to me, what I thought tonight proved was Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and then you have Tony Storm and Mercedes. Those are like the pillars of the company right now. And that's where you should be going. Like, if you see what happened tonight, like Hangman in the opener, Swerve in the match with Ricochet in the end of the show, Ospreay, like, those are the stars of the company that you need to, that's where you need to go. That's where you need to go. And you need to work your way to get those guys in the championship picture and as the champ. Like, those are the feuds.
ASAP.
Like, correct. And you just gave yourself a number one contender in Swerve that the crowd wants to see be champion again. He's been out of the title picture for a while. Just, you got to do it. You got to do it. Because again, now that we've done this tonight, what is next in this? What is next in this story for the Death Riders? Like, what could happen now? Everybody's going to come back now healthy, right? I would assume that over the next whatever, we're going to, because they showed the Ops, and when they showed the Ops, they said that the Ops were interested in the Trios belts that are held by the Death Riders.
Yeah.
So if the Ops were just looking on just for that, and now we have Swerve and Moxley, I'm like, what is Swerve going to do? I don't know. I'm just like, okay. So they did the storyline where Copeland took everybody out on the way there, except Wheeler. But he took everybody out, right? Is Swerve going to do the same thing? Like, what is new? What's going to be new on the Death Riders end heading into this, besides the fact that it's a new opponent?
Nothing.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's going to be another month of the same fucking shit until Dynasty. And then hopefully it's over.
Yeah. And I think
God
Swerve,
help me if Tony Khan is actually waiting for Darby Allin.
Listen, we talked about that on Thursday too, because again, I still at this moment, even though I'm like, put the belt on Swerve, to me, if you're looking logically at the story of the Death Riders from when it started, storyline wise, Darby is still the guy. Darby is still the guy. This whole thing started, obviously it started with Danielson, but this whole thing with Moxley heading for the world title after Danielson, or to get to Danielson, it started with him and Darby. And it started with him bullying Darby into accepting that match, so he lost his championship opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there has been...
And Darby is the one at World's End World's End or Full Gear, that he crashed his car into the Death Riders thing.
It was one of them, but yeah, that was Darby. And was that the last time we saw Darby?
No, they throw him down a
flight of stairs.
I think it was like a collision. They like tossed him down a long flight of stairs.
Yeah.
The last time.
Yeah. So to me, ever since that kind of stuff has happened, the Death Rider story has just been blah blah blah. And again, when you look at the totality of the Death Rider story, to me, Darby is still the guy that is logistically the guy that would beat Moxley for the belt. But we don't know when or if Darby is going to be around to do that. Now, if you go through, the rumor was that he was doing Everest in April, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Swerve as the guy in April for Moxley, and then you're not doing Double or Nothing until the 25th of May, which is that's like a 7-week gap between pay-per-views there. Is that what they're going for? Is that what Tony's thinking about? He's like, oh, Darby will be back in time for Double or Nothing. And then
The
it'll
only
be
way I see
Moxley
that,
and Darby at Double or Nothing, and Darby finally does it.
the only way I see that is if Nana turns on Swerve at Dynasty. And that's how he loses. And then Moxley retains, which
I mean,
almost the wind gets sucked out of my lungs when I say
Again,
that.
I personally think they should just pull the trigger and put it on Swerve. I think that's
100%.
Yeah, that's what should be.
They should have pulled the trigger and put it on Christian.
I agree. I agree.
Just get it away from the Death Riders already.
Yeah, but listen,
this is going to be another month.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're gonna have 4 weeks to talk about how they build this up to Swerve and Moxley and kind of see how it goes. But that was AEW Revolution tonight. Like I said, obviously the ending, the placement of it just the show ended on kind of on a dud. But I thought overall we saw a pretty excellent pay-per-view tonight.
I'm excited to see what comes of Kenny winning the international title up until we get to the obvious it all in.
Yeah.
With Okada. And I'm excited to see what happens with the Don Callis family now that all of the members of the Don Callis family have lost. I want to see now, does something happen between Christian and Adam Copeland?
I would think.
Where maybe they go, like maybe this is what starts a new bond with them, where they go, like we're so focused on each other and
I would
winning.
I would love it. I almost called him Edge again, but I would love an Edge and Christian run in AEW as a tag team for a while. I think that would be great.
Probably going to end up happening.
Yeah, like you could easily sell a lot of tickets if you were doing. Imagine you had Hurt Syndicate versus Edge and Christian. Come on.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I
want to see what happens with Tony out of her match. I want to see. Now, we didn't mention Billy Starks was shown looking at
multiple times
at Mercedes. Momo and Mercedes, and
because that means Athena's coming.
Thank God.
I hope we get a Billy Starks Mercedes match on the way. I would love to get a Billy Starks Mercedes match on the way. Probably. Billy Starks is excellent. We have Johnny saying, and what's next for Ospreay? Hopefully not the disabled list. Because holy shit, it looked like he hurt his hip.
I can't get on any. I can't go on Twitter or anything, so I don't know.
We're not watching the press conference either, or the scrum, But hopefully it's not the disabled list because it looked like he was favoring his hip, which he landed directly on that Spanish fly from the top of the cage. So hopefully he's okay. If we're assuming that he is healthy, I would like Ospreay to kind of go after the TNT title with Daniel Garcia. But
don't even get me started on that.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Again, Ospreay to me is a no injuries reported at the scrum. Well, hopefully that's true because it looked like Ospreay was in a lot of pain. He was limping, and it looked like he was upset. So hopefully that's true. If Ospreay is healthy, I mean, he needs to be near the top of the card, clearly. But obviously Swerve is the guy. Maybe Ospreay would be the guy after Swerve. You can make that move. If we're forgetting about Darby, like Maria says in the chat, forget Darby. If we're forgetting about Darby,
I was saying that a month ago.
Yeah, if we're forgetting about Darby, then maybe the Double or Nothing match is Ospreay versus either Swerve or if it's still Moxley, Ospreay being the guy to get Swerve's that guy too, but Ospreay is.
Everyone, I've seen the fantasy booking of Ospreay gets it at All In next year in London, but I'm like, do we wait that long? That's like 15 months away.
Yeah.
Like that's too long for me. And I mean, the fact that he's only sniffed the world title once in over a year of being there, and he won the international title, but like See, I wish Mark Davis wasn't involved in this so that him and Mark Davis could be a tag team. You know,
Will?
like, well, Will, yeah.
Do you really want Ospreay in a tag team, though?
Well, I mean, just like, I mean, he's a phenomenal tag team wrestler, even though he's a great singles wrestler. But I mean, he's
Yeah.
him with Kyle Fletcher, him with Mark Davis, you know. But I mean, Mark Davis is involved with the Callis family, even though it doesn't look like he's happy about being with the Callis family, but does every single thing that they say.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. There's so many top guys and one world title, and it's like, you want Darby to be a world champion at some point, but
Yeah.
you also want Swerve, but you also want Hangman, but you also want MJF, but you also want this person, but you also, it's like there's so many people,
Yeah.
and how long do you give Swerve his second run before you go, well, Hangman's got to have it now. Well, Ospreay's got to have it now.
I mean, MJF's going to have it at some point. Again, you would think at some point. And then, yeah, there's Swerve, there's Ospreay, there's Hangman, which you just mentioned. If Darby does come back, he's a main event caliber guy that they put up there. Yeah, I mean, there's Kenny Omega. I know he just won the international title, but you would think at some point Kenny Omega is going to be fighting for that again as well. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of top guys. I feel like and again, I don't know when it's going to happen. Obviously, we're hoping it's Swerve at Dynasty. But I do feel like once the world title is away from the Death Riders, it will feel like it's more opened up. It'll feel like it's more opened up because it feels like it's literally locked away in a briefcase.
And that feels like it is.
Yeah.
It is
again, we talked about this on Thursday. Yeah. And that's what it feels like. It feels like the world title scene is being held hostage. It's being held hostage. It's like,
and
okay.
if it's supposed to literally feel that way, that is promotional malpractice. It's not supposed to feel this way, literally. He's just supposed to go, oh my God, Moxley is holding the title hostage and the blah, blah, blah. No, it shouldn't be that every time this guy main events, you want to kill yourself. Because he's going to do the same fucking thing and he's going to retain and they're going to go to the next pay-per-view with the same fucking thing every single time.
But at one point, it's not going to be the same thing, and everyone's going to lose their mind that it's not the same thing. So maybe that is the point.
You can't. This is driving people away.
Potentially, we'll see. We'll see what the results were for the buys and things like that.
That we've just mentioned. The crowd tonight didn't give a fuck about this.
I agree. Again, that is on them to understand that and make a move. So you keep on hearing behind the scenes that, oh no, they still believe in this story. They know, maybe they know something we don't, the big ending or whatever, but it's just, I don't know,
it
man.
almost becomes like the boy that cried wolf at some point. It's like, oh, well, something big. No. Well, something big. This happened at Wrestle Dream in October. He won this title.
Yeah.
And right when the match was about to start, a fan held their AEW World title up, almost as like, hey, yeah, remember this is what this is for? Remember what this thing looks like? I'm just like, somebody on commentary called it like the most prestigious prize in all of professional wrestling. I'm like, so prestigious, we never get to see
it. Again, we talked about this on Thursday. That doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. Do I think it's kind of? Do I think it's kind of over? Like, am I over it at this point? Yes, but like, it doesn't. I'm not bothered that we haven't seen the belt. I'm just like, okay, what's the point of not seeing the belt this whole time? Like, what's the point of it?
we're now at a point, and this is why I'm pushing back on what you were just saying. We're now at a point where whenever the thing that's supposed to happen happens, it's not going to be a cheerful, happy, wow, the great big thing happened. It's going to be relief.
Yeah, that could be. But I look at it, if Swerve wins it next month, we're going to be happy that Swerve is the champion for more reasons.
I'm going to be relieved.
Yeah, but you'll be relieved, yes, but then you'll also be like happy because it's Swerve. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be.
No, I mean, obviously, I want Swerve to win.
Yeah.
But 3 months ago, I wanted someone else to win.
Yeah, it's true.
So Swerve now just replaces Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, Jay White, Orange Cassidy, Hangman. Like all these people were like, oh yeah, that person, we want that person to win. And then that didn't happen. 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 And now it's like, well, now it's got to be Swerve. One, because holy shit, this has gone on for way too long now. And two, yay, it's Swerve. Like, it should never be like that. It shouldn't be, I'm relieved that Swerve won. Should be, yay, Swerve won.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not going to disagree. But again, that's it, man. That was AEW.
And then again, I'm not 100% positive that it's actually what's going to happen.
No, I don't think you can be. I don't think at this point, the way that this story
this could just never end.
Yeah, I think at this point, the way that this story has gone, I don't think you can go into any of these matches thinking that Moxley will lose until he does. I just think that's where we're at. Even though he didn't even
this time. He didn't even need.
No, he did it by himself. Yeah, he did all this by himself tonight, which again adds more fuel to his fire. Saying, yeah, everyone was saying I couldn't win because I'm always got these guys. Well, guess what? I mean, even though he did have Wheeler Yuta and that helped, but like he's gonna say I did it by myself. I did it by myself this time, and he kind of did for the most part. So I don't know. We'll see. But we have at least 4 more weeks to hear what Moxley and crew have to say as we build to Dynasty and what will be Swerve and Jon Moxley for the AEW. We think. I don't think they'll do it before Dynasty, I would assume.
Oh, no, it's going to be a Dynasty for sure.
Yeah. And look at Swerve and Moxley should be fucking good. Should be good. But again, we got to see how it goes. But all in all, like we said, I think that tonight was a very, very, very good wrestling show. I thought we had 4 match of the year candidates, Tony and Mariah, Takeshita and Omega, and friggin' that cage match. I feel like we're match of the year, match of the night. You could pick any of them, and I would accept your pick of any of those 3 as match of the night. I also thought Ricochet and Swerve was incredible. I also thought Mercedes and Momo was really good. Hangman and MJF was really good. There was a lot of good. There was way, 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 way more good than bad. It's just that because that was the main event we got, and that was the result of the main event, it kind of just, I feels like it left a sour taste in your mouth at the end of what was really an incredible wrestling show. Like a really, really good wrestling show. So, all right. That's going to do it for us here on Firmly AEW Reacts for AEW Revolution. Drew and I will be back bright and early Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. right here on this Love Wrestling channel for Firmly WWE. We'll be talking about what happens tomorrow night on Monday Raw. We'll get another cage match tomorrow night.
Yeah.
The main event of Raw at Madison Square Garden. They are tomorrow night. It will be CM Punk and Seth Rollins in a steel cage match. I do want to talk about that wonderful segment with Bianca and Naomi from SmackDown. I want to talk about that on Tuesday. So we'll be back Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. for Firmly WWE. If you want to hear more of our AEW talk, we will be Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We'll be talking some more Revolution and kind of what we see for the Fallout Wednesday night on Dynamite. But other than those things, Drew, why don't you let the people know where they can find you and if you got anything else coming up this week?
You can find me struggling to wake up in the morning because of how fucking late it is right
Hey, this
now. I
was
just
your
saw the
idea,
time.
buddy.
Oh
This
my
was your
God.
idea, buddy.
2:04 a.m.
Yeah, Tony, can we make
East
these on
Coast.
fucking Saturdays? Why are we doing Sundays? The show ended at midnight on the East Coast, bro. Come on now.
At the Drew Nicholas on Twitter and Blue Sky. And follow Firmly LW, our Firmly Love Wrestling thing. I'm starting to like put polls in. I'm starting to get a little bit more engagement there because, you know, we neglect that channel sometimes and we feel bad. We want to engage with everybody and know what everybody's opinions are. And so follow Firmly LW on Twitter. And I'm on Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. We just did a watch along to Revolution. I don't know, based on some people's feelings on AEW right now, if we're doing anything with AEW, but we do, you know, shows during Raw and during SmackDown. We actually are doing a 2K series with 2K25 on Fridays, so that's fun.
Fun game.
So come watch us there.
Yeah, fun game so far.
And yeah, that's everything I got.
Rock and roll, man. You guys know where you can find me. JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. Already told you where you can find me and Drew every week here on Love Wrestling. Every Thursday night at 8 p.m., you can find me here with my man Pluggo for the flagship Between Two Beards. Drew, this week's episode is episode 199. So we are two episodes away from episode 200 for Between Two Beards. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Wow. So we got that coming up in a few weeks. You can also find me on bodyslam.net, our pals over there. I joined Corey and Nick after Raw for the Body Slam Raw post show Raw Dogs. You can find me there. I joined that crew a few weeks ago, and it's been a hell of a time over there. And on my own personal channels for Raw and NXT on Tuesdays, we do watch-alongs. We have our pals. Josh Robinson shows up. You've been on a few of them. I'm always with Peggy on Raw and NXT. She's with me every week. So we do some watch-alongs there for Raw and NXT as well. So that's where you can find us. If this is your first time here in Love Wrestling, welcome. Give a follow to the channel. We have a lot of live shows and a lot of great things on this channel all the time, including a really good pro wrestling company that just killed it in Calgary last week. If you didn't see the four-way ladder match for the four-way for the title, you got to go see it. You got to go see it. One of the main spots in that match had been making its way, kind of went a little viral with T.Y. Jackson and Stephen Crow. But you got to go see that whole match. You got to see that whole match. Thing of beauty.
And
thing of beauty.
I hope also that everyone likes us now doing these single shows for pay-per-views and PLEs, because, see, we talked about this for like an hour and 45 minutes, and we would not have been able to do that on the regular Firmly AEW show. So JPJ and I were like, hey, you know, maybe we should start covering the pay-per-views after, so this way we're getting our immediate thoughts on what happens, and we're not trying to cram it all into a Firmly Tuesday or Thursday show, because, you know, I have to go to a job, I have a life, things to do. I can't be spending 4 hours talking about this. And
no, why not?
Well, you know, because I don't want to get fired. And so, yeah, so we decided, hey, let's do Firmly Reacts, which then it was originally just going to be the regular Love Wrestling Reacts, but then we talked with Zach, and Zach was like, oh, maybe Firmly should take the point on getting the reacts out after the pay-per-views. So I was not able to see the chat, and I probably, honestly, won't be able to see the chat for any of the reacts.
I'm not continuing these if you're not in your normal setup. So
I can't be in my normal setup.
You're gonna have to tell the hubs that once a month he's going to have to take a nap on the couch until we're done, and then he can go to bed in the bed. That's what you're going to have to do.
Well, was there a problem with this?
No. I'm just putting my foot down. At one point, both your headphones died.
Well, that was my own fault for being on a watch along before with these headphones.
Well. Listen. Anyway. But yes, that is true. So, we're going to start being more consistent with the reacts to the end of the pay-per-views. I feel like we've kind of had like a whenever, we do it for here sometimes, but we're going to start being more, and it might, even though it might be us too, it might always just not be like we kind of have like, especially for the react side of it, we're like, hey, if anybody's watching the show and you want to hop on and talk about it, like, so it's not necessarily just going to be Drew and I the whole time as well. But yeah, we want to be more consistent here at Love Wrestling, but Drew and I also want to be more consistent about being present when it comes to the react shows, because obviously when we're talking about WWE and AEW and we have big pay-per-views, if we were to make that on the weekly show, we're talking about the pay-per-view and the shows of the week. And like those shows can go long, and we, like Drew said, shoot jobs and things of that nature, it can get a little difficult. So we felt like this is a way to we talk about the pay-per-view mainly tonight. So we only talk a little bit about it on Thursday, as we mainly talk about Dynamite and the weeks of television like we normally do. So that's kind of the thought process. So we'll see how that goes. Tonight was a good one. It was a rousing success. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Appreciate everyone popping in. And we're going to get up on out of here. Appreciate everyone hanging. And Drew and I will see you Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. for some Firmly WWE. And until then, y'all, you know the drill. Peace out.